Azazel teaches that the difference between a successful warrior and one who is unsuccessful is whether or not he feels peace or power behind his weapon. And that's where perseverance and clarity comes from. I have had the honor of receiving mentorship from Azazel, one of the Watchers, the fallen angel who taught man how to wield a weapon and use the earth for cosmetics, or as we know as glamour magic. He is discussed prominently in the Book of Enoch. He is mentioned throughout history, yet he remains very silent. He's hiding in plain sight. There's a Saturnarian aspect to him. His sigil looks like Saturn. It sounds like Saturn. If you listen to Azazel's N, encrypted, deconstructed so you can hear it, because that's possible, it sounds like the planet Saturn, because you can find those sound bites online. When I was starting to study about Azazel, who was the third infernal that I had contact with during my journey on the left-hand path and finding answers and hearing and seeing deity. And he was very standoffish and he was very calm, but he made his presence known without needing to. And that's something that stood out to me. I was allowed to see that, because they can deceive us in so many ways. They can, just because they, when people make the justification of working with fallen angels or being mentored by demons, they say, well, they feel, they can't mask that. They can, but they'll also allow you to see that they can, to test your observance or to just admire it perhaps. Azazel teaches me just to kindly shut the fuck up once in a while, because I'm the complete opposite. If I hear or see injustice, I'm the person that speaks up and makes things worse, And I've always felt like, well, nobody else is, somebody's got to do it, because everybody else will stand in line and watch a barista get abused and nobody will intervene. If something's going down, I am always the one that has to take care of it, and I get really resentful and I get very verbal about the whole process, and as a result I'm chanting incantations to myself of negativity because I feel burdened by having such a big mouth and having the balls to do this and that. And Azazel teaches that you have to just be quiet, that sometimes compliance isn't just the light side of spirituality, in the sense angelic side that I've been really learning more about. Sometimes compliance within the dark is doing that for yourself rather than for a god or for some sort of idolization. He teaches the real essence of becoming your own god. I feel like a lot of people on the left-hand path, newcomers and such, that they're coming in with anger and pain, and as a result ego will just be the shell of your essence if you do that. And we all have gone through it. We've all hit that part. He has, Azazel has, the fallen have. I've been there and seen these visions and had these dreams and experiences, and it might be all just in my head, and that's fine. That's totally okay. Then I have a great imagination and fucking awesome stories to tell. Azazel teaches glamour magic because for some people it might be for leisure and fun to feel beautiful. That's fine. There's a time and a place for that. That also has a balancing act to it, doesn't it? Because we can just get full of ourselves if we think we look good or whatever. Or we can do the polar opposite. But he teaches glamour magic in a way where you're invisible in plain sight. And from my understanding, the energy that I can just scan, that's allowed, he is a lot more powerful than he lets on. He is a lot more important than even biblical texts give credit for. And he's fine with it. There's no need to be in the forefront. His energy is very, very stealth. It's very invisible right in front of you. It's very, even though he's a very beautiful, how he appears to me in his angelic form, he's very masculine and strong. I would say medium height to tall stature. You know, maybe, I don't know, I don't have a number, like 5'10" or something. Straight black hair and just very, like, prominent features, you know, like a strong jaw, but they're very still soft in appearance, but still very nonchalant about it. There's a humility to Azazel. He's very humble, but at the same time, he's not humble where it hinders his essence. He's quietly compliant within himself because he knows that that's what's needed for him. I asked him through tarot if he was created to wield weapons and be that aspect for humanity, or if he had his own path prior to us knowing and it led him there. And he said it was both because of those synchronicities. So we get the experience of the path, but also it was just what is set to be because it was needed. And he teaches that's what all of us are in an aspect. We are really like nerve endings to the universe. I had a really eerie experience where it was led by Azazel's energy. It was guided without me realizing that's what it was going to be. I was just meditating and just clearing my head. I have to meditate and clear my head because I've got a ton to do all the time. And I saw the inside of my subconscious, and it was ugly. It was just this hollow, like, crater of a hallway. And it's where the external meets us within our mind. And it was just this hollow, like, almost like a crater within a skull, kind of looked like. A dead necro energy to it. Like, it was really, really, really desolate. And it's not somewhere that I wanted to be. But there were all of these doorways, like other craters within it. And they're access points, almost, where other entities can meet with you. Or you can go out. And I don't know anything else from that. And that can just be all in my fucking head. But that's what I felt like he was there, like, guiding and guarding. There wasn't a protective energy. With Azazel, there's a protective energy, but it's not needed to be known. Where sometimes I feel like with Belial in particular, who I have a really, really close relationship with, and I'm learning a lot of past life stuff with. I know I sound crazy. It's fine. There's like almost this like known protective, like, I will protect you. There's an emotional thing there. Where with Azazel, it's disconnected. It's almost like I don't even need to exert my energy because it'll be taken care of. He's so fast. I have had experiences like that. I have seen visions of him and his brutality, and it's like something out of a fucking anime, to be honest. I've seen him with 2 one-handed swords slice something in half and like almost like into 6 pieces in like a kebab and put it on his swords and throw it into a fire and then clean them off. Like, he's so precise within a fraction of a second, and it's so powerful. But the way that he exhausts his power, he doesn't exhaust it. You know, he teaches a lot about how to be powerful without exhausting yourself. And, you know, leaders of the world struggle with that, obviously. Because if you, like, Hitler's a really great example of that. And it's not to be crude, but he was an occultist too. I don't know, a lot of people don't realize that. But Hitler, first of all, everybody during World War II was on methamphetamine. So he was already doing that shit. And he was sloppy within occultism. And he was a failure, and he had trauma and all this stuff. He's a failed artist. He was a World War I veteran. All of these things. But there are videos of him with his Luger, and he's pleasuring himself during speeches, gacked out on meth, with the fucking barrel of his Luger. that, and because he is taking in all the power. See, they teach about leadership in different aspects. And where Belial's, for me, the forefront, like how to have the fucking balls and stand on that podium and say what you got to say clearly and precisely. Azazel teaches how to not absorb that power, how to not let it get, because even like for me, for instance, I don't care if this channel just gets to a point where it's sustainable, where I can just sustain a reasonable lifestyle for me, and I just want property and I just want to make magic and grow weed when it's legal. Like I really have an easy, I like to farm and travel, and that's it. That would be great if this can do that. I don't need anything else from it. Azazel teaches that even if you are detached from those things, it's still plausible to let your head get into your own head and get a power trip. And for me, it's a really interesting confrontation, because it feels like something I don't have a struggle with at all. Like, I read lots of comments. I don't have to go and read my comments every day. I feel detached, but I also feel a genuine connection that's okay if it doesn't last forever with other occultists. When you guys tell me your stories or you just ask me how I'm doing, it's very kind, and I feel this kind, genuine energy that I understand, because I hate sounding so cringy, but it's really hard on when we are who we are to feel I can't relate to humans a lot of the time. It's been like that my whole life, and it's fine. I've always been like a really popular loner. Does that make sense? And I struggled with that because I felt like this isn't fair, like I'm giving and everybody's not doing what I would get, and you have to detach from that. And I learned just on my own that that's okay, that I don't owe anybody any energy, but I can do this for myself, but also others can benefit. And as a result, whatever resonates or makes you happy or anything, that's cool. And you'll have your own path. It's like the seeds blowing from my garden to yours, not me being the gardener and making it happy. That's the difference. And Azazel teaches within leadership that when you do have people giving you energy, to just be neutral about it. The energy that you should get should just be from the universe, not taking from others in that sense. And when we do take from others, you get kind comments or this and that, or people send you gifts and everything. You have to make sure that you feel neutral about it, that it's like an equal, equivalent exchange, because when we start just absorbing, it gets to you, and what comes up crashes down. And one thing I've learned with working side by side in mentorship with fallen angels is that there is absolute equivalent exchange within the universe for everything. That's why shit happens. When great shit happens, terrible shit happens usually before or right after. There's always these things. You know what I mean? Like when every time I have a baby, somebody dies, that kind of thing. Like that's my experience. And it super sucks, and it's like terrifying, but it's like those sorts of things. You can see it with celebrities. You can see it if you have some sort of person you look up to and you find their life story. You realize, gosh, there's always like, just those tower moments when those peaks peak. And you may not be able to control all of that, but what you can do is you can neutralize that energy, not to bypass destruction, but to understand and learn the lessons from those things. If people, we have different beliefs on stuff, and I don't believe when people die it's for us. I believe there's synchronicities that are complex, and it all kind of maps out in those ways where everybody benefits, or there's some lesson for everybody. I learned this stuff. It's really crazy, and I feel like I'm losing my fucking mind. I really don't. I feel comfortable with it. But that's what he teaches you. Like it's not everybody's susceptible to main character energy, even if you feel like you're detached from it. And the way that you maintain detached is to be maintain awareness of it, and to continue to center yourself. And one really great way to center yourself is to skill build. He teaches during this path, like for me, taking care of myself physically, and I've been in a plateau and I'm finally getting out of it. But I haven't been beating myself up, and I don't have the same sort of relationship with like the same weight loss goals that I've failed my whole life, right? For me, it's about my potential and my energy levels are great. My flexibility is improving. My joints feel really good. I take supplements and stuff, but this is the thing that I've learned with Azazel, with taking care of my body. You can take all the supplements that you want, but if you don't align your mindset and talk to your body to take those nutrients and heal and, give and receive, it kind of just doesn't work as well. Like I've been doing, I know I'm going to go off topic real quick, so apologies, but I've been taking marine collagen for the past 3 months, and I've been pretty diligent. I miss some days, it's a tablespoon, and I mix it with some other super green supplement in cold water, and it tastes like a fruit gummy. Because on its own, it just tastes like fish gelatin, like clean fish gelatin. It's not very pleasant, but anyways, I got a little hack around it. And I detached from hoping like, oh, it's going to make my hair and my nails and my skin and all these great things, that can be a secondary thing for sure. I have noticed differences in my nails are very strong now. But I felt like I was understanding the healing nature of my body and the healing properties of those botanicals and ingredients. And even though Azazel doesn't have this earth connection sort of energy, it's this spiritual aspect, like how to connect the ether to yourself, almost. It's very, very powerful. And it's like how to plug the plug into the light socket. That little spark in between is like him teaching you that energy exchange in this very subtle way. Because I'm all in to taking care of my body, and it's not like, if it is a midlife crisis, this is the best fucking midlife crisis I could think of. But I like showing up for myself because I feel really good, and I feel like I am challenging my potential not out of ego, but out of the desire for growth and expansion. Like, that's what it is. Because we block ourselves when we do that. And we all do. We can go, I'm going to go another fucking 10 minutes. Like, we can do that all we want, but we're probably going to feel more worn down afterwards. Our body's probably going to feel more injured. But if you remain clear-minded, you can accomplish so much. Azazel taught me, he told me one time, to stand on your feet swiftly, but to sit slowly with grace. And it's really about how we carry ourselves. It really makes a difference. And we can challenge society, which is very Belial's energy. I have visions of Belial where he's very like leaning back in his chair with one leg on the desk, sort of, but he doesn't even need to do it to have a pissing contest. He's just like, I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, it's not even personal. Where Azazel seems like he has a lot more, Belial has composure when he needs to be and when he wants to be. Don't get me wrong. He's not like a sloppy. He does it in such a way where he still maintains composure doing it. It's like he can get away with murder in that sort of sense, There's always that one person that can get away with doing shit like that, but then everybody else can't, Everybody else gets told, sit upright, but that one kid in class can always get away with it. That's Belial. Whereas Azazel, it's not about the ego or looking, it's just about almost the energy of always just conducting yourself calmly and quietly. There's an energy to how we carry ourselves. It works. There's sigils we can use even with our hands and different hand gestures. We've learned that in different traditions. Like ninjas do that too, to channel energy. I'm not a fucking ninja. We as humans I'm like the fucking Beverly Hills ninja, okay? Like, in all seriousness, ninjas channel their energy through their hands for different types of things. You can learn all of this stuff easily and just consistently take those practices, but not for the title of them. It really doesn't matter. Azazel really teaches you don't need to disconnect from things because, disconnecting is easier. Like, oh, it doesn't matter. We disconnect because really this is just a sort of experience that we're supposed to be having. We're in like this simulation, I believe, and we're just having these experiences, but the system's been completely fucking hacked. It's not supposed to be perfect. We're supposed to have pain. Our problem is we fear death. There are a lot of cultures that don't understand the concept of death. A lot of indigenous cultures, death is just like I'm going back to the other place. I'm leaving this fucking holiday, this holiday, more like it. But it's a learning playground. It's there's a lot that we can manifest into our lives if we detach from them, and the system's hacked because they teach us with psychological games and glamour magic, and that's what it is, to be attached to things because it has a jingle and it has these colors and bells and whistles. That's like why when you go to casinos, they're all strategically set in place. The carpet is obnoxious, so you'll stay looking ahead. There's no sharp turns, so everywhere you go there's a slot machine, and it's got specific color combinations and hertz of music to get you to go. If you're aware of those things, you can detach and go and win. Which, by the way, I have really good luck when I go to the casino, but I'm done within 10 minutes. I'll win $500 and I'm done. And it happens all the time too. But it wouldn't happen if I felt the need to go, like, I'm going to go to the casino because I'm broke or something. It doesn't work like that. It's like my energy. I just know when the vibe feels right. And I go to the casino, which I haven't in years. I haven't even been to the casinos in Australia. But in America and California and Vegas and stuff like that, they're everywhere. But you don't feel the same sort of like, you're not stuck in that matrix. You can exist outside of it. And it's weird. This is going to sound really weird because I don't like bringing up people, but Azazel reminds me a lot, in an essence, of like Keanu Reeves, because he reminds me of him as his character in John Wick. John Wick is very detached from his job. He's very disciplined, but there's no ego. A little bit of it being personal because, his dog and all that. But he's still kind of aware, and he'll do what he has to do. And then he's kind of done thinking about it. There's no blood rage. There's no, when he walks into a room, he doesn't have to strut with his, act like he's got a big pair of balls. He's just like in plain sight, like invisible in plain sight. And then Nero from The Matrix, I sound like a super nerd, I'm sorry, but he's the same way with The Matrix, which we are in a Matrix. It's just the movie is very cinematic. It's not as glamorous as that, but it's more of a representation of a psychological cage. And Nero's able, because he's aware, to come in and out of it, And Azazel really has that sort of energy where you can exist in things. It's okay to appreciate your vices, but they're just a perk. It's such a secondary thing, and we don't need to gravitate toward them. They teach about that. You really can have like a disconnection. I don't struggle with addiction, so I'm not at liberty to talk about that sort of stuff at all, but having a disconnection from those susceptibilities, if for me, I don't have a problem with alcohol. I personally don't. In terms of my relationship with it, I've had issues with other people in my environment, unfortunately, and that's dampened it. But in terms of me having a glass of wine, I can appreciate a glass of wine and just like a reasonable steak dinner, and then it's like, wow, that was a lovely experience that I was in the present for, and there's going to be another time for that. I have to get back to my thing, right? But because we're in this crazy system, we'll get hyper focused and stuck in it, where we are really, really struggling with our vices at times. I used to be a cigarette smoker, so I did have that struggle. I gotta go smoke a cigarette because I'm fucking stressed. I smoked cigarettes on and off for like 15 years, outside of pregnancy and breastfeeding and stuff like that. You just go back to it, and that's the thing too. It's like I stopped, but habitually just went back to it once the kids got older, and it's just this really silly psychological cage that we get indoctrinated into. And then in our environment is very unnaturally stressful. We're chasing the carrot and we don't even want the carrot. You know what I mean? We don't even realize we don't want the carrot. What we need is expansion. So he teaches really how to coexist with it, but not in a way where it's an excuse to go and indulge. Like, you can coexist with the Matrix. You can still go to the casino. He teaches you to just, if there's an opportunity and it's aligned and you get to go and do something, just have a nice, pleasant, reasonable time. He's very modest. He's very, I don't want to say anti, but he's very not interested in the pomp of things. where there are infernals like Lucifer who really, really enjoy the pomp of things. He also has a disconnection to it, but he appreciates it because he appreciates the creativity, the energy that brought it to life, and the elements and gold and rose gold and all these things, right? Like when he indulges, it's not sloppy. Whereas Azazel, his energy is very like he would kindly appreciate something nice, but it's like he's in the moment, and then once that fades, that dopamine releases, it's like a slow release, and he's back to what he has to do. He's very disconnected when it comes to offerings. He really likes simple things. He really likes like a cheeseburger and like a reasonable bourbon or something, or like I've made candied pecans for him, and with whiskey caramel, and that's like that's really nice, like that's a little extra, and like he's so content with that. So I connect with food with spirits, and that's the voice that I've been searching for as a chef my whole career and couldn't, and now I got that, so I connect with spirits and with infernals in particular. It's very pleasing to see what type of offerings they like and then create a dish for them. So it's very, very beautiful experience that I have. But with Azazel, he's very simple. But he's not, it doesn't matter. It just really doesn't matter. His sense of humor is very modest. He'll snicker at something stupid and funny instead of like, I'm trying to give metaphors. Belial will laugh his ass off and provoke and poke and I really feel that way. I have Belial energy and I have Loki energy in my home, and it's a lot. It really, look, at this shit's real. I don't care what people say. You think it's all in my head, it's fine. It's really not. It's not. So, but having that sort of energy is a lot. Where Azazel, he's very calm. He's very calm, but when he strikes, you don't even see it. It's so fast and so powerful, it's scary. And I've had those experiences, very barbaric but clean. That's when he's in action. He's shown me these things. He shows you things of tactical force, and he shows you and teaches you those sorts of things because of the philosophy that's needed behind it. Like I said, there is a difference between feeling peace behind an M16. For some people, it's, when you are involved in marksmanship, it could be to find peace within yourself because you found peace when you were training in that area, or there was something that made you feel safe about it, and there's a calmness. But then there are people who struggle with blood rage, and they get thirsty for it, and they want to go get some. That is the ego forward thinking, and what Azazel teaches is that when you do that, you exhaust and gas out all of your energy, and it's just going to explode right into your face. But when you feel calm behind your gun, there's peace, and there's a calibration. There's a purpose and a reason why it needs to be done. It's not to get revenge, and if it is to get revenge, it's because it's needed. You know what I mean? I'm not saying physically, I'm saying fucking metaphorically. Please don't go and do stupid shit and think Azazel told me to go shoot somebody. Like, that is not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is my moral compass is fuck around. You're not even going to have time to find out. That is what I believe that we should be like. I really believe that an armed society and a mentally fucking clear society is a very polite society, because then there's no need. Like, there's no need to do it. There's no need to take on power. If everybody has their shit together physically and mentally, and we all had access to that, there would be fucking no need. But we would still have those skills. That's important. It's really important to be able to defend yourself in those ways and feel empowered within your own body, but not have an ego about it, not have a big pair of balls. For people who might watch, I have to keep track of the time. For those of you who might watch MMA, like mixed martial arts or UFC, there's a lot of people who have great physical discipline and they're at the top, but their egos are so out of control that it's destroying them. Like Conor McGregor is a really good example, if you know who I'm talking about. he is proficient in what he does, and he's perseverant, and he came from, you know, a shit background and made it, and believed him. He manifested it through hard work, and he has a warrior spirit, but his ego's so blown out of proportion, and his humor along with it's only going to carry him so far. He drinks a lot, he's all engulfed into it, and he's just like, he's like Yahweh in a way. Yahweh's very fucking drunk within his power, or has been, because I've tapped into that energy, asking fallen angels. And that's just my experience, and maybe it's my imagination, and I don't have the answers to the fucking universe. I'm just nosy as fuck. But what I can say is I read energy with people with that warrior spirit. But then there are people, like, there's a fighter, his name is Khabib, and he is very, very, very much so humble, and he's a Muslim man, and he is all about the mental with it, right? There's another kickboxer. His name is Marco Krokop, and he was a former fucking Croatian, I think, spy or spec ops dude. And that dude's killed people. He's also, I don't know if he's retired now, I haven't caught up, but he's also a kickboxer. He was also an MMA kickboxer. And he doesn't need the energy that I get from him. It's not the same as Azazel, because there's a little bit more ego, but there's this calm, scary, cold demeanor that I'm trying to depict, where you can when you're a disciplined killer. That's what I'm trying to get. The scariest fucking type of energy is someone who is disciplined, but they're also equally psychotic. Azazel has this element to him that he controls, that he fine-tunes. Not because he can be out of control. He can be out of control. It's just not needed for him now, but it has been, because when they did fall, and from what my beliefs, you don't have to believe, that's totally fine. For me, I believe, because everything just adds up. When you really, really start looking into everything, you're like, it all adds up somehow. And it's not, some people are just so close yet so far with this. It's so frustrating. They're so fucking close yet so far with this whole system. But they're not realizing their God is the devil. You know, like, literally, it's fucking obvious. It's cruelty. But anyways, with Azazel, when they did fall, when they did have everything taken from them, when God did overreact, they had those aspects of their worst. That's where that comes out. You have to almost break as a person in order to rebuild. It's like this saying, it takes a lot of pain to be this patient and kind. Like, Mike Tyson's a hell of an example for that. He went through it all. He destroyed himself. He had a terrible childhood. He had terrible losses, things that no one wants to go through. He also had everything given to him, and he lost it all. And he's made some terrible mistakes and stuff, but he's so humble, and he had his own spiritual awakening and ego death and stuff, and I followed his story. And man, I'm so proud of him, because I've always seen the soul, that childlike essence of him. And I'm so sorry if I'm just talking about random people and stuff. Those aren't my intentions, to just start, name dropping people I don't even know. But when I do admire human beings, I don't see the celebrity. I don't know. I did a little bit when I was younger for like rock stars and stuff, but I also outgrew that pretty quickly, because I saw people in my environment, like, growing up and going to school, who just idolized the hell out of people, and they got stuck into that like worship, like celebrity worship, and I didn't really get it. Like, I'm so egotistical. I'm like, I don't care if you're the king of fucking England. You're a human being. Like, that's where I come in. Even though there is truth to that, that's not all necessarily. And I'm not talking in particular about the freaking rigged ass monarchy. Like, we're not talking about, but in terms of people who do earn their titles, there's an aspect of that hard work earns that deserves respect, and also you can't let it get to your head. With Azazel, it's so disciplined that it's just, he can be in the shadows, or like I said, just invisible in plain sight. Like CIA, I think it's CIA or FBI agents do that. They don't hire people that are significantly conventionally attractive or significantly conventionally unattractive, because they'll stand out. So they hire average looking people that can kind of blend in. Azazel has that essence to him, but he also is an average looking. You know, they're all the angels are just really beautiful in their own ways, and I'm not trying to sexualize them at all. I see beauty in the most obscure forms anyways. I don't know why. I don't know why. I'm lucky I just did not fall for a lot of this shit for too long. So I get to have that experience in this lifetime, and I get to be okay with it now and be free with it instead of trying to fit in with this choking hazard of a society. It's just not, I have no desire anymore. I can just come in and leave and not stay too long to where I'm drained, and I have no desire to be in line at a Starbucks. You know, I'm just burnt out from it. So I'd rather just make my coffee at home, and if I want to be around humans, then I'm around them. I don't have social anxiety. So that's a good, you know, you got to check mark these things, in my opinion, where you're not making justifications to not grow. You know, we can't run away from ourselves. You might have, and I can't speak on behalf of everybody, especially if you have mental conditions that can't be cured. So please just keep that in mind. I'm only talking about having anxiety. The only time I used to struggle with social anxiety a lot, like to where I hated like ordering anything like to eat or something. I was just like, I don't want to deal with people. But then when I had postpartum depression and postpartum psychosis, I also was diagnosed with postpartum anxiety, where I felt so cripplingly sick to my stomach and my head, where going out in public made me feel like everybody was going to attack me, but not with the essence of paranoia, just like fuck, like just going into the lion's den. And I was aware though that it was like a chemical thing. You know, I was like, I would like cling on to my husband. I'm like, I got to get through this, but I was aware that it was a chemical imbalance. So I'm lucky I didn't internalize it, but it gave me a lesson of what people with anxiety disorder struggle with. Because me, I very much so struggled at times with just shut up and pick up your bootstraps and let's just get this taken care of. That's just a survival mode thing. So I really try to have empathy, but I think empathy within certain struggles, I have to figure out balance with that when talking to other people, because it's really not my place. But in my experience, I really feel like if you are abstaining from things out of avoidance, it you know, outside of like your health and your safety, it might be detrimental. You know, like if you can't go to the store because you're literally shaking, like is it detrimental for you to go to the store? You know what I mean? Like, and you can play the mental health card all you want, but we have to be honest with this shit. This is a game of fucking like jujitsu within our own mental cage. And Azazel's aspects, the fallen angel and this Saturnarian, it's almost like this bright, overwhelming energy. Like it's almost like he's so much more, like he's like at Lucifer's level almost. And I say that very respectfully. There's something more to Azazel. It's different, like especially within like Goetia and stuff. I know Lucifer's not Goetia, but there's something different with him. So I have been, since I finished a huge chapter of shadow work, finally I was so over it. I had a really hectic couple of 2 weeks, and I had no time to film. Like, it was insane, and everybody was going through it because like Pluto was in Aquarius and the full moon was too. My daughter told me, like, everybody online, everybody I've talked to, all my friends were like, we've been fucking slammed for 2 weeks, and then it's starting to wind down. That was like, as soon as they finished my shadow work, which was really intense for the past like 6 months, I would say, like I was not wanting to deal with this last thing, and now I don't have to worry about the past. I just was avoiding it for so long. I went through this chaotic 2 weeks where I was just slammed, you guys. I was on my feet 15 hours a fucking day because we had so much to catch up on with we homestead. I make content on Instagram and TikTok. I show all my homesteading and herbalism, and I incorporate witchcraft, and some people are just like, we want to see the spells. I'm working on it. Fuck, I don't just make spells to show. Like, there has to be a reason for me. And I don't like showing everything that I do with my practice, but I'm feeling like the time is right to start doing that more. But my point is I was so slammed that I had very little time for spiritual anything, and it was needed because I just went through like this intense, just sick to my stomach shadow work. I'm done. Like, I'm so fine right now. And it was a really good thing. I had some hard-ass lessons this past year, and since the beginning of this journey. But then I had these 2 weeks of just hecticness. And then there was like this sort of slow paced, gotta catch up. So I've been really feeling like finally the time is right to reconnect with certain infernals and then connect with new ones, and not like at this fast pace, but it's just like happening on its own. It's just happening through dreams, or happening because like the time just feels right out of nowhere. Then it just really seems like the time is right. So working with Azazel side by side again, which I do in and out, it's just very seldom, unfortunately, but I know that there was a reason for it. He's very intense. And I will say, during my shadow work, he was at the forefront of me battling myself. Deciding, when you make the decision to take care of your health and your weight, and you try to figure out why are you feeling and face it, how do I actually do this right? And you have to almost hit rock bottom, right? Because I've lost weight before and gained it all. I've done the same thing, and then it's like we all kind of get stuck in it because we're stuck. It's a psychological thing. Some people struggle with food addiction. Some people just have trauma. It's trauma. Our body is just protecting us almost. And when you're ready to heal, for me, it just heals on its own. And I'm like disconnected. I have to weigh myself to keep track. And I listen to my body. I don't eat sugar if I really know that my body's not going to respond to it, but I do eat sugar. I just had a nice coffee with some sweeties this morning, a nice coffee. But then I was like, I'm good. I don't need to have 2 of them like I used to. I feel like I'm in tune with myself, and working with Azazel, he really comes in to play with it when you want to challenge yourself and you want to mentally break. During workouts, my whole goal when I'm exercising isn't, I gotta get this hour in so I can look hot and I can look skinny. I've done it before. For me, it's I need to get to the point of exhaustion where I am wanting to quit and I need to mentally break. And that is the reward for me. The mental clarity, the expansion, and he's always there. His energy is very strong. And I'll get him and Belial's energy during those times. And I wasn't expecting that with this path, like, work out with demons. Like, how stupid does that sound, right? Like, I wouldn't think that and I'm not trying to judge if people have, I don't know, maybe there are exercise videos with demons. That would be cool. I don't want anybody to think that I think that it's like, it just, come on, I'm not trying to put people down or act like that's what I'm doing, but when I'm cooling down from a workout, I'll have like intense meditations. It started with Azazel. There are times where in the beginning of the year when I was exercising, I was really crying, and I'm like, I always see people bubbling and sniveling during workouts, like on The Biggest Loser or whatever, and I'm like, just shut up and go to the gym. I've been there before, but when you are really trying to figure out why you're so angry, you realize that it's your personal problem. And Azazel teaches you to recalibrate that energy. It's like almost transmutation, but it feels different than like Leviathan's transmutation. Almost like you need the tools of transmutation, and it'll help you with the journey from point A to point B. I know it sounds really stupid, but you can take the energy of anger and pain and chaos and really fine tune it and neutralize it to where you're detached from your ego in that way. Your ego is supplemented in a healthy way, and then you can just be that warrior you need to be. And you realize, man, we can really be energetic and fast. Just take it day by day, and don't think about the final outcome. Don't think about the goal. Just detach from it. Write it down. Do a spell, and then put the intent out there, and then burn it and go move forward. And just every day, do it for yourself. That's it. And I connect with him. And there are times I don't get my workout, and like the past 2 weeks I haven't, but I've been physically fucking busy. I've been getting my garden prepped. It's a lot going on over here. And I don't justify that either. I know if I'm physically spent at the end of the day, I know I put in a hard day's work. I have to have that conversation with myself. And when you have mentors like the Devil Collective, it's not about intimidation. It's about, you have such great grandmasters teaching you these lessons and fine-tuning your own bullshit. Why would you want to let that go to waste? And that's the incentive. It's not about pleasing them. It's not about showing what you can do. Because I've done that too. I've had glimpses of my energy doing that in this path where I want to show that I'm compliant. I learned that lesson really hard. My first year, I was like, I'm going to do fucking everything these dudes ask. Everything Lucifer asked, everything that they said, but not like in a yes sir, no sir, 3 bags full sir way, but in a I'm going to show the fuck up and do my job and do it right and show that I can do it. There was a lesson in that of compliance. I had to navigate the depths of compliance in that. It's a lot of work. And you have to also balance out, and Azazel teaches us not to take yourself too serious, because I'm a very deep person. I feel starved for depth. I love my relationship with my husband because there's depth. There's deep conversation. I can fine tune and talk. I starve for it. But I also sound stupid. Like I take myself, I'm so smart and deep that I need, no. It's just the shallowness, the fun things, the novelty. I just have always seen it for how it is, and I don't need it. I see it for what it is. This stuff's going to be here. It might not be. It might be here. It doesn't matter. The aspects that I enjoy of the aesthetics, in the afterlife, I'll remember, and maybe I'll be honored by my loved ones, and maybe not. Maybe I'll just come back. I hope not. Fucking done with this stupid hood-ass planet. But the whole point of us, in my opinion and experience, is just for depth and learning and connection and understanding. It's not about being stuck and fighting online over stupid stuff and arguing and making these stupid problems. So it's just about showing up silently for yourself, and it's about having quiet power, and it's about not taking power from others that give it to you freely, but using it in a way that benefits everybody, but not for the purpose of that, and not showing it. Not being the person that films when they're giving money to a homeless person. You can't mask those sort of things. So, in my experience on the left-hand path, and really deep diving these days pre-Goetia, because for me, Goetia, it represents aspects of demons almost when they hit their rock bottom, and they teach you, what I mean, about your rock bottom. But for me, pre and post Goetia, there's a lot of elements there that are needed for wisdom, because they evolve. And Azazel's a really great balance of what humility is, being humble and quiet, but also being a fucking, I don't know how to explain it, savage, but but being detached from it. So I'm going to wrap it up for now. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode.